Hello viewers, you're welcome to this lecture on the classification of fungi, the organisms in the kingdom fungi. Now, the organisms in the kingdom fungi are classified into 6 phyla or divisions according to their mode of sexual reproduction or using molecular data. And based on these criteria, the organisms are classified into the following phyla. We have the phylum Ascomycota, okay, that consists of organisms that are also collectively called ascomycetes, and they are also referred to as the sac fungi. And then we have the phylum Basidiomycota, okay, which are known to be referred to as the Basidiomycetes or the club fungi. Then the third phylum is the phylum Chytridiomycota. They are also called the chytrids, okay, and we have the phylum Deuteromycota that are also the organisms are also called Deuteromycetes. Then we have the Glomeromycota or the Glomeromycetes and the Zygomycota or the Zygomycetes that are called conjugate fungi. Now I want to look at the phylum Ascomycota or the Ascomycetes. The majority of the known fungi belong to the phylum Ascomycota, okay, which is characterized by the formation of an ascus. Okay, and the plural of the ascus is asci, that's A-S-C-I. And the ascus is actually a sac-like structure that contains haploid ascospores. It has sac-like ascospores. The majority of known fungi belong to the phylum Ascomycota. Okay, and they can be coprophilous, that's they can live on dung, or they can grow on dung. They can be decomposers, they can be parasitic or saprophytic. The sexual spores are called ascospores. So the ascomycetes produce ascospores, while the other fungi produce other types of spores we'll talk about. So the ascospores are spores formed within an ascus. The ascospores are actually spores that are produced within an ascus. Ascospores have haploid number of chromosomes and are formed by meiosis of the diploid cells. They have half the number of chromosomes that are peculiar to the specific species of fungi. So they are haploid. They have haploid number of chromosomes. Many ascomycetes are of commercial importance. Some play beneficial roles, such as the yeast. Okay, the yeast Saccharomyces cerevisiae is a fungi in the phylum Ascomycota, and yeast or Saccharomyces cerevisiae is used in baking, in brewing, and wine fermentation, plus truffles and morels, which are held as gourmet delicacies. So these organisms, the yeast Saccharomyces cerevisiae, the truffles, the morels, or ascomycetes. Other ascomycetes are parasites of plants and animals, including humans. Okay, so the yeasts are the well-known ascomycetes that are commonly used. Many ascomycetes are of commercial importance, as we have looked at already. Now, the Saccharomyces cerevisiae is very useful in many ways, as we have discussed. So I want to look at the phylum Basidiomycota. The phylum Basidiomycota, the second phylum we are looking at, is a phylum that's characterized by the production of basidiospores. The sexual spores that are produced by the Basidiomycetes are basidiospores, and these basidiospores characterize this group. They are produced in clump-shaped basidia. So they are called Basidiomycetes. They are called Basidiomycetes. Now, the Basidiomycetes produce their sexual spores are basidiospores, and they also produce conidia as sexual spores. They also produce conidia as sexual spores. Okay, now they are characterized by these features. Basidiomycota include mushrooms, shell fungus, smorts, rusts, and toadstools. Okay, the well-known mushrooms belong to the phylum Basidiomycota. Most edible fungi belong to the phylum Basidiomycota, from mushrooms. However, some basidiomycetes produce deadly toxins. So even among the mushrooms, it is very important to be very careful to know the exact ones that will not be toxic to humans. Okay. Other examples of basidiomycetes include the agarose species, which are used for electrophoresis and other purposes. Sexual reproduction in basidiomycetes occur by basidiospores. Asexual reproduction occurs by conidia, budding, or fragmentation. Asexual reproduction occurs by conidia, budding, or fragmentation. Now I want to look at the next phylum, which is the phylum Chytridiomycota. The phylum Chytridiomycota, or they are called chytrids. Members of the phylum Chytridiomycota, or the chytrids, are aquatic flagellated fungi. They are aquatic flagellated fungi. Okay, the chytrids are the simplest and most primitive eumycota, or true fungi. They are the most primitive true fungi. Like all fungi, chytrids have chitin in their cell walls, but one group of chytrids also has both cellulose and chitin in its cell walls, or in their cell walls. Okay, so the very important distinctive feature of the chytrids is the fact that they are aquatic flagellated fungi. They are aquatic flagellated fungi. Most chytrids are unicellular. Okay, unlike some other fungi, the chytrids are unicellular, but a few of them form multicellular organisms, or hyphae, which have no septa between the cells. So they form synocytic hyphae. The hyphae do not have cross walls. Okay, the ones that are multicellular, their hyphae do not form cross walls. Motile zoospores are the distinguishing characteristic of these organisms. The chytrids produce motile zoospores. They produce motile zoospores, spores that are able to move. They produce gametes and haploid zoospores that can swim with the help of a single flagellum. Okay, the spores of the chytrids are mobile. They are able to swim with the aid of a flagellum that propels them to move from one place to another. So we have looked at some distinctive features between the fungi. The ascomycetes produce ascospores. The basidiomycetes produce basidiospores. The sexual spores of the basidiomycetes are basidiospores. The asexual spores are conidiospores. While the chytrids, now we have learned, they produce zoospores, motile zoospores that possess flagellum. Okay, that distinguishes the chytrids from the basidiomycetes and the ascomycetes. The only class in the phylum Chytridiomycota is the Chytridiomycetes. Okay, the class Chytridiomycetes. Okay, so they produce spores that are motile, that can move, that are able to move from one place to another. So the ecology and cell structure of chytrids have much in common with the protists. The ecology and the cell structure of chytrids have much in common with the protists. Chytrids usually live in aquatic environments, although some species live on land. Some species thrive as parasites on plants, insects, or amphibians, while others are saprobes. So the chytrids basically are aquatic in nature, and they produce haploid zoospores. Okay, they have to produce motile zoospores, rather. They produce motile zoospores. I want to look at the phylum Deuteromycota, or they are also called the Deuteromycetes, or the imperfect fungi, or fungi imperfecta. The fungi in the phylum Deuteromycota are otherwise called the imperfect fungi, and they do not follow the regular reproductive cycle as the other fungi. So the Deuteromycetes do not carry out the sexual reproduction cycle common to other fungi. So that's why they are called the Deuteromycetes, or imperfect fungi. They do not reproduce sexually. The Deuteromycetes do not reproduce sexually. Okay, asexual reproduction occurs by conidia. They reproduce asexually with the aid of conidia. Conidia are spores produced asexually by various fungi at the tip of specialized hyphae. So examples of the Deuteromycetes are the Trichoderma species, one species of fungi that's called Trichoderma species. So they reproduce asexually with the aid of conidia. The next phylum is the phylum Glomeromycota. Glomeromycota. The Glomeromycota is a newly established phylum which comprises about 230 species that all live in close association with the roots of trees. All members of this phylum form arbuscular mycorrhiza. Now, arbuscular mycorrhiza basically means that the hyphae of the fungi, the Glomeromycota, interact with the root cells, forming a mutually beneficial association where the plants supply carbon source and energy in the form of carbohydrates to the fungus, and the fungus supplies essential minerals from the soil to the plant. So they have a close association with the roots of plants. Okay, they exhibit a kind of mutualistic relationship with the roots of plants. Now, these Glomeromycota actually produce asexual spores that are called glomerospores. They produce glomerospores. That's one distinctive feature of the Glomeromycota. They produce glomerospores. Okay. Now we have looked at the ascomycetes that produce ascospores, the basidiomycetes that produce basidiospores, the chytridiomycetes that produce motile zoospores, and now we've mentioned the deuteromycetes do not have sexual spores. They produce asexual spores known as conidia or conidiospores. Then the Glomeromycota we're now looking at produce glomerospores as asexual spores. Okay, so they produce glomerospores. So that's one very distinctive feature you need to know about the Glomeromycota. The last phylum we want to look at, the sixth phylum, is the phylum Zygomycota of the fungi. Okay, the phylum Zygomycota they are also called the conjugate fungi. The phylum, or the organisms in the phylum Zygomycota, are multicellular fungi that are characterized by the production of sexual spores, and these sexual spores are called zygospores. They are called zygospores. Now, the thick walled resin phase arising from the fusion of two similar gametes are called the zygospores. They are found in the zygomycetes. Okay, so the zygomycetes produce zygospores. That's very important to know. So the ascomycetes produce ascospores. The basidiomycetes produce basidiospores plus conidia. Then asexual spores are conidia in the basidiomycetes. The chytrids produce motile zoospores, while the Glomeromycota produce glomerospores. The Deuteromycota do not have sexual spores, but they produce asexual spores, conidia. Now we've looked at the Zygomycota. The zygomycetes produce zygospores, and they include the bread molds. Okay, Rhizopus stolonifer. They include the bread molds, those whitish substances or black fungi that grow on breads that are already undergoing decomposition are the bread molds. They are called the bread molds. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this very important video. I believe you've learned a lot about the classification of fungi. Please keep watching more of my videos from my YouTube and TikTok channels, and don't forget to subscribe.